Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sound Waves. I'm Rob Petrosh, the founder of Sound Cove Labs here in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's great to have you today, and we have another great episode for you. Today, we go to St. Louis. We have Lindsey Hermes joining us. Hi, Lindsey. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So tell us about your company, BioSpan Technologies, and exactly what you guys do.
Biospan is a chemical manufacturer of solutions for sustainable infrastructure and enhanced oil recovery. Everything that we make is bio-based. So a majority of our raw materials come from the earth. That includes mostly soybean oil. So we've got every surface covered. I always joke, if you've got pavement, we can work with you. Asphalt, concrete, we do dust control, we do specialty maintenance and cleaning solutions, and we have energy solutions as well. 58 products so far, and a roadmap of many cool things to come.
And how long has the company been around, and how did you get involved?
The company started in 1993, and I got involved because child labor was very cool in the 90s. My dad started the company. And he started it in 93. My mom joined in 98. And I had no choice to go tag along with them to the factory and spend my summer breaks and winter breaks and weekends with them, working in the lab, working in the factory. Eventually graduated into the lab where there was air conditioning, thank goodness, during the summers. But I've been involved from day one. You know, some kids have a scooter growing up. I had a forklift.
That's super unique. I love that. I love that story. Let's talk a little bit about the business itself and who your prospective clients or who you sell to are. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we are really B2B. So BioSpan manufactures and markets our products. We don't work with the end users unless it's a special situation. We support our customers, but we're looking for construction companies, maintenance companies, operators, service providers in the B2B space that are working in industrials, cosmetics, food production. There's literally every facet of business that we can work with because, as I mentioned, if you've got pavement, we can work with you. That's every industry that's got a parking lot that they need to take care of or something that needs to be cleaned. You know, everything that we offer is non-toxic, it's bio-based, it's USDA bio-preferred certified. That is what people are looking for. But all of our solutions, you know, they have to work. First and foremost, they have to perform compared to a traditional solution. So we're looking for decision makers that see an opportunity to sell our products that they can apply themselves, or somebody in a decision-making capacity that's thinking, how do I save my budget? How do I spend this wisely for the years to come so that I can invest in maintenance? Not so much in ground up new construction. It's not as shiny, but maintenance is a game changer.
And what is, for the layman who doesn't necessarily understand the ins and outs of exactly your product or some of these industries, explain it to us simply, like, what do you do? Why do people select your brand and your company?
Sure. Okay. Take a parking lot or your driveway, for example. I joke that we sell Botox for roads because there are traditional sealants that are out there and they're like, you know, the nice black top, but that black top kind of stinks in the summer when all the volatiles fire off on a hot day and you're like, oh, they just put that stuff down. We're breathing that in. Our products are bio-based, 88% for Replay, 91% for OptiSeal. Those are our flagship products. And they're liquid solutions that are sprayed on top of asphalt and concrete because we don't want to leave any pavement system out of the mix. And what they do is they don't just sit on top on the surface like what I call those makeup solutions. They penetrate into the matrix and fill in the voids with our unique polymer chemistry. We take recycled post-consumer polymers out of the waste stream. We blend it with some magic ingredients. And what that gives to each group of pavement is some flexibility, but also durability. By applying our products, and why I say it's Botox for roads, because it's going underneath the surface, an inch and a quarter for asphalt and 4 inches for concrete. What that does is it extends that life cycle for 3 to 5 years for asphalt, 7 to 10 years for concrete. So every time you apply our products, you delay massive repairs or full reconstruction. And that's really going to prevent those wrinkles from happening on the surface. It's kind of like a sunscreen as well. We've seen these products work across extremes. So we've been applying our products across pretty much every climate you can think of. They stand the test of time. And that's really what makes BioSpan unique is our polymer chemistry that works below the surface.
That's super, super helpful. And, switching gears a little to marketing, given the product is technical and industrial, how do you market the product?
Well, we have a pretty robust list of target accounts that we want to go after. We're inbounding a lot, but we're going to the events that make a really big difference to our customers. So, where are we going to connect with people that need our solutions that can specify them? Because a lot of this is working with engineers that are highly technical that are thinking, yeah, Botox for roads is great, Lindsay, but let's get to the nitty gritty of it. So for us, digital is a no brainer. We're thinking digital first. When I came back into the business about 18 months ago, everything was so paper based. And so we've digitized our manufacturing, supply chain, as well as our marketing. So, website is really important. Social media, it's a keep the lights on activities, but because we live in a day and age of AI, our events are really important. I think a lot of people get spammed these days just by what's out there. You can kind of tell when somebody's automated something. And if you can't tell, wake up and smell the coffee. I think that's why events for us in real life have become really impactful. But it's what do we do to follow up with these leads post event that makes the difference. So for us, it's all about filling top of funnel and education, education, education. Because once we give them enough credible information to make a decision, we get into decision making mode. So we're trying to shorten the sales life cycle. And that's where content creation is critical. But to have it backed up with data, with case studies, testimonials, that's where we leverage AI to its full capability.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great approach. And talk to us about the decision makers or the industries and the titles and the people who you want to target and end up purchasing the product.
Yeah. So we are running kind of a dual model now. So we're working through distribution partners that have end relationships with their customers. That's where they're looking for another tool to add to their toolkit. That's where BioSpan products come in because what we do is unique in that people are like, wait a minute, I can fill a pothole with a soybean. That's cool. And the fact that we have a 30+ year track record is also very appealing to them. So we're looking at the directors of sales. We're looking at the CEOs of these companies, these kind of small and medium-sized companies that have great relationships with large multinational entities, facility managers. Anyone from a manager and above, that's where they see our products and they implement them quickly. If they like it, if they want to try it, it's yeah, let's just put it down and see how it performs because seeing is believing. But at a more strategic level, that's where we're working with the C-suite to help them quantify how much carbon can they save along with how much cost can they save using our products. We're working with some incredibly big global companies that are putting this down on parking lots to keep the loading docks of their distribution centers and warehouses working because that uptime, it's quantifiable dollars and cents. Every time that they're able to unload and reload a truck instead of having to shut down a lane because of reconstruction or repairs, that is money to them. So if BioSpan can do it for them in a way that minimizes downtime, increases efficiency, and keeps the lights on for the flow of commerce, I mean, it's a no brainer. We also work with public agencies. So we're looking at public works directors, engineers. They are responsible for utilizing taxpayer dollars in the smartest way possible. And it's really important that what we put out on our streets and sidewalks and trails, it's vetted and it's safe for the public. It's funny because people really care about what their constituents say, but they also care about what their pets are breathing in. And so we're seeing a lot of transition to bio-based products like ours in the public sector, because not only are our products made in America, but they're non-toxic and VOC free. So that makes a really big difference in product selection. It's top down and bottom up in the decision-making process. So we try and focus strategically from the top down, and then we try and educate as quickly as we can with the bottom up approach as well.
And are you part of an RFP process with government agencies as well?
That's where our distribution partners are the ones that are completing those RFPs. We are contributing to them as well. What we really care about is that our products are accurately spec'd and specified in that process. So if they've got all the data that they need, this is where having a digital repository on our website has made a huge difference, because it's now more of a self-service model, but it's also a muscle to build. We're onboarding more distribution partners. This year, we've onboarded a handful, and we've done it mostly digitally. It used to be an in-person training session. Now we're doing it remotely. We're supporting them with content that they can use to learn about the products, to train applicators on the products, as well as how to sell it. What can you go to market with? Which industry are you really focused on? And how do we sell to these individuals? So it's a digital first approach, and it's no shortage of work still to be done.
And when you bring on a new, distributor, in the process, what are some of the biggest bottlenecks bringing them on board? Is it training, demand generation, logistics, regulatory clearance? What are some of the challenges?
That's a good question. I think honestly, it's getting them to see where this fits into their existing toolkit of solutions to sell and apply. Sometimes we get a lot of, huh, you're telling me that a soybean can do this? That's really the biggest hurdle. And once people see it, and once they see a few of our videos, they see the case studies, they see the reputable names and the global reach that we've had over the last 33 years, I think that's the biggest challenge. Everybody wants to sign, you're signing my NDA and I'm not signing yours. Lawyers are really good at getting themselves paid first. They serve a purpose, however, but it's getting that first yes. It's really helping them co-sell and getting them to build that muscle in terms of sales and marketing in the BioSpan way. Once they get the hang of it, they're teaching us, no, this is what worked in my market. This is what worked with my stakeholder in this industry. That's where I get really excited about how we can also tap into those feedback loops and cultivate even stronger campaigns.
Great. No, that makes perfect sense. And when you think about from sales to distribution to systems and automation, if you could wave your magic wand and automate one part of that tomorrow to make your life easier and move the business forward, what do you think you would focus on?
If I have to just list one
You could list a
aspect,
couple, but we like one.
okay. Well, first and foremost, manufacturing. I absolutely love our team. And I think because we know that we're on the cusp of immense growth, especially coming into 2026, that's one area where, okay, we would love to wave a magic wand over that and just the capacity's there. But I don't want the wheels to start to fall off. So that's what I'm actually looking at in terms of a long-term strategic roadmap for our operations is how do we, from a few buttons, create a smart factory? We're in the process of completing our ERP implementation. I think we're about 70 to 75% of the way through. It's a journey to transform any business from paper-based, as a lot of these mom and pops are, to turn them into a modern, functioning, digital first small business. So those would be the two areas that if I could just wave my magic wand and have completed today, that would be it. But if I could add a third, I
Yes,
think
go for it.
it's gotta be our social media. That's something that we're not necessarily going to get a sale out of it, but staying on people's radars, that's where it's a keep the lights on function that we don't spend enough time on it today. But we also haven't necessarily drawn the direct correlation between investing and getting the return.
Yeah. Well, we have that conversation quite often of being top of mind is really important. The great thing is there's a lot of solutions with AI and content creators that can now keep that process automated. So I think you're thinking about things the right way. And you've also taken on a big task of taking a legacy brand, if you will, and bring it into the into 2026, if you will.
Yes.
Across infrastructure, construction, maintenance, what macro trends are you observing, um, that favor your products overall?
There is a focus on infrastructure. And I think if we look at the state of the union in our road systems, we're failing. We get a D grade, okay? That's not just me saying it, it's public knowledge. And that's where we have to, as an economy, invest in that to keep the flow of commerce going for private sector and for public sector functionality. We got to get the kids to school and we got to keep the trucks on the road delivering goods. That's where there is this investment coming in public works, but private sector we're seeing that rapid growth because they're also focused on how do we do this in the smartest way possible and how do we cut carbon? Because our products for pavement solutions are carbon negative, that's where we're seeing this trend of, well, let's get a life cycle assessment and an environmental product disclosure. So we're working on those things for all of our products right now by building the business case to not just demonstrate how much cost they can save by implementing a maintenance solution, but by implementing a maintenance solution with an added carbon benefit that drives preference for BioSpan products. That trend is not going to go away. We're seeing it in extremes. From a global perspective, this is where regulation is going to push us to these standards as a baseline. We might be lagging a little bit behind in the US from that perspective, from an environmental regulatory perspective. But there is massive investment in infrastructure that is favoring solutions like ours here because we are made in America, because we source as locally as possible. But from an international perspective, American products are preferred, come with a weight that has priority on shelves. We are looking at the B2C play, but through our distribution partner. And we've done one specialty retailer part for the last 6 months, and it's been a huge driver of growth. I didn't realize what a catalyst it would be. And so we're looking for those lookalikes that can take us to other shelves in specialty contractor supply stores, for example. But these are products that they don't have on the shelves. We're competing with the traditional ones that are very carbon intensive. They're noxious. They're not good for the user or for the environment or for the budget, frankly. There are a lot of traditional products that only work so well, but they still make a lot of money. So that's where I see opportunity.
Great. As we come up on our last couple of minutes here, we love to give some of the founders who tune into the pod a little bit of advice. You've had a front row seat of watching your dad grow an amazing company. You know, you've taken over the reins and I think modernized. Actually, a lot of the home services or commercial cleaning companies that we work with actually face some similar situations. So what advice do you have for some of these founders who are going through either taking over someone's business or a legacy business that relied on paper that needs to modernize. What are some steps to take to get moving?
A big lesson for me has been not to bite off more than I can chew. Starting small, I know that I'm not going to go from 0 to 100 overnight, even though I want to. Okay. I have champagne dreams on a beer budget. And that's really important that we keep our energy and our resources focused on what has the biggest impact. When you're taking over a business, if it's a turnaround, if it's a scale up, even a merger, that's where you're going to need to focus on what continues to drive revenue to keep the lights on. And then where can we optimize? And then where can we innovate? And I think you have to figure out what the right dose of each of those activities is. But obviously, a majority, I would say 85 to 90% should go into keeping the lights on so that you can gradually shift that into growth mode for innovation. Optimization, if there are some quick wins to implement, that's a great way to test the existing team for what their appetite is for change, because that's often the hardest part in a leadership transition. Change is hard whether you're switching from a spreadsheet to a platform or to automation. Bringing the right people on the journey with you is everything. So I'm a big believer that culture is king. You're only as good as your reputation and you're only as good as your last piece of work. In my experience, the world is incredibly small. So really investing in people who understand that technology can be a part of their job, that can lead to the innovation where we're seeing some real growth opportunities. And it's why our business is growing. I also just love geeking out over, where we could go with our products because we have such an expansive system of solutions. We're not just a one-trick pony. So I get really excited when we bring our distribution partners and their sales teams on a journey with us and they invite us in too. And we're training them. We're giving them the opportunity to upsell. That's something that they're not always thinking about. And so that's where I think just looking for those wins that can drive numbers, you have to take a step back in order to do that, to get into the weeds, to look for those growth opportunities first.
I think that's great advice, and we really appreciate your time today. Tell our audience how they can find you, if they wanna talk more.
Absolutely. Go to www.biospantech.com, BIOSPANTECH.com. We're on every channel you can think of. I'm really fond of our YouTube channel, by the way, and that's at Biospan Tech.
That's great. Well, Lindsey, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We appreciate our audience's time, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.